So this is going to be a vegan, Asian, keto meal prep. Hey guys, so like I said, today I am going to be creating for you all ketogenic meals that are also vegan and Asian flavor, Asian meals in nature. I personally am not on the ketogenic diet, but I have a lot of friends and a lot of colleagues who do. So I just thought maybe I would give my take on it and give people a little bit more, variety to work with while they are on this specific diet. So for those of you who don't know what the ketogenic diet is, in a nutshell, it is a very low carb diet that forces the body to stop using carbohydrates and glucose for energy and then instead turn to fats for energy. What this ketosis state gets you into is your liver starts to make something called ketones, and the ketones are, supposedly beneficial for a lot of different things. Now, this meal plan, I'm doing it more for, those who are on a diet or are working out and kind of for more casual purposes. But for those of you who are looking to do it more for kind of, health, medical reasons, definitely go and do your research, but definitely go and talk to your doctors about it first, because it does seem like there's a lot of studies and science done on this, and they're applying this keto diet to a lot of things. So I don't know, maybe it's promising, maybe it's not. So the guidelines for a ketogenic diet, in general, it is 70% fats, 25% protein, and about 5% carbs. Now, when I was designing the meal plan around keto, I actually found that the most difficult thing was not limiting carbs. I thought it definitely would be, but it was actually to add that much fat to a diet, because it's 70% fat. So that was something that I had to play around with. And then the 5% carbohydrates. So different sites will kind of vary, but in general, people cluster around 30 grams of net carbohydrates a day. So it's like carbohydrates minus the grams of fiber equals your net carbohydrate. The most difficult thing I think about carbohydrates is that, beans are carbohydrates, vegetables, it's all carbs. So they usually have lists on different sites. You basically have to pick the ones with the least carbs, and no surprise here, but dark green leafy vegetables top that list of being very low carb, but then also very, very high in all of these nutrients. So the meals that I have for you guys today, it's super, super yummy. I have a lunch, a dinner, and then a dessert. So for lunch, I have an absolutely delicious 5-spice seitan salad, and the salad is filled with dark leafy greens. I have some broccoli in there, I have some asparagus in there, so super high in those nutrients, and then also a nice avocado to add some creaminess, richness, and that fat. It is incredibly satiating, so after you have this, I doubt that you're going to be hungry for really hours to come. So all of these recipes are going to be down below, but I started off with a little bit of liquid aminos and the Lee Kum Kee garlic, which actually does not have as many carbs as you would think if you only use it in small amounts. I'm going to add a little bit of 5-spice and then some stevia, liquid stevia, for just a little bit of sweetness without adding all of those calories. And then finally, a nutty drizzle of the Lee Kum Kee sesame oil. And I just mix that all together, put it into a 400-degree oven for right around 10 minutes until the seitan develops a little bit of crunch and then has absorbed all of that flavor. Now for dinner, I have pan-fried sesame encrusted tofu, and it is nice and crunchy, nice and fragrant, and I've paired it with some cauliflower rice that I cooked in coconut milk. So it's nice and rich and has those fats in it, but it is super, super fragrant as well. And of course, some low carb greens on the side to make the meal really, really satisfying. So I started off by taking 400 grams of tofu and then cutting them into 1/4 inch slices. In between each slice, I am going to marinate it with a little bit of that Lee Kum Kee garlic, as well as some salt, just to get some flavor into the tofu before I dredge it up in sesame seeds. So what to do when you can't use eggs or cornstarch? I actually have a mix of flax seeds and water, and that is going to bind my tofu to the sesame seeds. And I'm just frying it in a little bit of avocado oil, a couple minutes each side until they are nice and crispy. And I have paired it up with a little bit of cauliflower rice that I cooked in some coconut milk and a teeny bit of turmeric for color. So like I told you guys before, one of the most difficult things about this meal prep was to put enough fat into the diet. It is 70 to 80% fat. So I read up on something called the Fat Bomb. And at first I didn't know what it was, but it completely made sense afterwards because a lot of people also had the same issue. They couldn't get enough fat into their diet. So I've made these matcha cocoa nib fat bombs for you guys as a dessert. Maybe you can have it as a morning snack or something. Essentially what it is it's cacao butter, it's a little bit of coconut oil. I flavored it with some green tea and then also some stevia as well, so that it's like nice and sweet without having to add the sugar. And then I also added some cocoa nibs in there. So cocoa nibs, if you guys don't know, it's kind of like crunchy pieces of, maybe like if coffee beans were softer. So it has that nice cocoa flavor, and it's also really high in fiber, but also really high in fat as well. So it's almost like adding an Oreo cookie. So I think that these are going to be really delicious, and you guys are really going to like it if you do want something kind of different and more, you know, kind of like Asian-y in flavor as a dessert. So I started off by mixing 4 ounces of cacao butter with 4 tablespoons of coconut oil just to amp up that fat. And then over a double boiler, I'm just gonna melt everything until it turns like oil. I'm gonna add a little bit of stevia, a little bit of salt, and then this is 2 teaspoons of matcha powder. And actually, the best way of making sure that this does not lump up is to just put a little bit of oil into the actual container and whisk it up before you mix it with everything else. So every tin gets about 1 tablespoon of cacao nibs, and then you just pour in the mixture. Now make sure to stick it into the refrigerator, because otherwise they don't seem to firm up, and they just turn into the prettiest little like matcha Reese's Pieces cups. So anyways, guys, I hope you all enjoyed that ketogenic, vegan, Asian meal prep. If any of you have some suggestions on in terms of like what you'd like to see me do meal plans on, if you're, you know, gluten-free, if you are allergic to, you know, different things, definitely comment down below. I'm always interested in kind of playing around with these things. So yeah, so I will see you guys again pretty soon, okay? All right, bye.